In the heart of Nevada's wild frontier, one desperate cry shattered the silence, sparking a courageous rescue that would forever blur the line between human and wild and reveal a bond no one could have ever predicted. Emma Carter had always been drawn to the wild places where the landscape stretched endlessly beneath vast skies and the rhythms of nature pulsed with raw, unfiltered energy. As a seasoned wildlife photographer, Emma had spent years navigating the rugged terrain of Nevada's Black Rock Mountains, seeking to capture the elusive Mustangs in their untamed glory. Yet on this particular morning, as the first rays of dawn painted the desert in soft hues of amber and gold, she found herself standing at the edge of an experience that would forever alter the way she saw the world and her place within it. The valley was quiet save for the whispering wind threading through the jagged rock formations. Emma's breath formed small clouds in the crisp morning air as she adjusted the focus on her camera lens, her eyes scanning the horizon for signs of the wild horses she had come to know so intimately. But then a sound broke the stillness, an agonized, pleading cry that seemed almost out of place in the vast emptiness. It was not the call of the wind or the distant echoes of nature's usual chorus. This was something deeper, more urgent. Guided by that haunting sound, Emma moved cautiously over the uneven ground, her heart pounding with a mixture of apprehension and hope. She was no stranger to the dangers of the wilderness, nor to the protocols that urged her to keep a respectful distance from wild animals, especially those in distress. Yet the sound drew her forward with an irresistible pull. Through a narrow opening in the rocky outcrops, she finally saw him, a bay Mustang stallion, his powerful frame tangled and struggling in the cruel grasp of a rusted steel trap. The sight was harrowing. The horse's front leg was caught, the jagged edges of the metal biting into flesh and muscle with every desperate movement. His breath came ragged and uneven, his eyes wide with fear and pain. But what struck Emma most profoundly were the tears, real shining. Tears streaming from his deep, expressive eyes, tracing paths down the contours of his face. It was a silent testament to his suffering, an unspoken cry that pierced the barrier between human and animal. Emma felt a profound surge of empathy, a raw connection that transcended words. Despite the danger, despite every warning encoded in her training, she could not turn away. Injured wild horses were known to be fiercely unpredictable, capable of delivering fatal blows when cornered. The wild stallion before her was no exception, his strength barely diminished even in his pain. Yet something in his gaze arrested her. A desperate intelligence, a flicker of recognition that beckoned her to act. There was no phone signal in this remote expanse, no immediate help forthcoming. The nearest rescue teams were hours away, and time was cruelly against them. Emma's mind raced through every option, every protocol drilled into her over countless field seasons. Step back, contact authorities, wait. But her heart refused the cold logic of waiting. The connection was immediate, visceral. To do nothing felt like a betrayal. Slowly, with deliberate care, Emma lowered her camera and began to speak softly, her voice a gentle murmur against the vast stillness. "I'm here to help," she whispered, inching closer, each movement measured to avoid startling the frightened stallion. The horse's ears twitched, catching the softness of her tone. His trembling body shifted, muscles taut and ready to bolt or fight, but something held him steady. In those fragile moments, a silent dialogue unfolded, a delicate dance of trust, born not from words but from intention and presence. Emma extended her hand tentatively, allowing the stallion to sniff to gauge the sincerity behind the scent. The air hung thick with tension and hope as the horse, inch by inch, allowed this human intrusion into his pain. Emma's mind flickered to the deeper implications of this encounter. What did those tears mean? Were they simply a biological response? Or did they reveal an emotional depth seldom acknowledged in wild animals? The sight challenged her understanding of the natural world, forcing her to confront the possibility that the boundaries between species were not as impermeable as she once believed. The decision to approach was both courageous and reckless, a leap of faith into the unknown. Emma was acutely aware of the risks, not only to herself, but to the stallion whose struggle was exacerbated by the metal's unforgiving grip. Yet in that remote corner of the desert, between jagged stones and under the awakening sky, compassion outweighed caution. Emma began to prepare for what would be a painstaking rescue. Every movement was slow and intentional, Every word spoken was a balm meant to soothe the raw edge of terror and pain. She carefully removed her jacket, fashioning it into a blindfold to shield the stallion's eyes from the harsh glare of morning and the fear of unseen threats. The horse shuddered but did not resist an act of trust, almost unheard of in such a wild creature. Her hands worked methodically, examining the rusted trap that held the stallion captive. The metal was old, corroded, and stubborn. Each attempt to loosen it met with resistance, requiring a combination of strength, finesse, and unwavering patience. Emma could feel the rhythm of the stallion's heart beneath his thick coat, a steady drum of fear, pain, and unexpectedly hope. At one point, the stallion reached out gently, brushing his muzzle against Emma's extended fingers. The contact sent a jolt through her, a sacred electric connection, bridging two worlds that often seemed irreconcilable. It was a moment suspended in time, an unspoken promise of solidarity between human and beast. The struggle continued slow and arduous. Emma's muscles ached, sweat traced paths down her face despite the cool desert air, but she was undeterred. Every inch the trap loosened was a victory against cruelty and neglect. The stallion's movements softened his breath, becoming more regular, his trembling less pronounced. When the trap finally gave way, the stallion pulled his leg free with cautious determination. Emma moved quickly to wash the wound, careful to cleanse the blood and dirt without causing further distress. She applied an antibiotic spray, explaining her actions in a calm voice that seemed to reach beyond the physical to the emotional core of the creature before her. The stallion stood quietly, no longer thrashing or trying to escape. Instead, he regarded Emma with a calm that spoke of recognition of a bond forged in the crucible of shared vulnerability. Then slowly he turned and disappeared into the vast expanse of the valley, leaving Emma with a profound sense of both loss and fulfillment. As the sun climbed higher, Emma gathered her equipment and made her way back to her vehicle, her mind awash with the enormity of what had just transpired. The photographs she had planned to take that morning felt insignificant compared to the living story she had witnessed, the story of a wild soul's pain, a human heart's courage, and a connection that defied the boundaries of species. That day, Emma Carter realized that the wilderness was not just a place of untamed beauty, but a realm of profound empathy, where the lives of humans and animals could intersect in moments that challenged everything she thought she knew. The Mustang's tears were a call to see, to feel, and to act, not just as an observer, but as a participant in the fragile dance of life that unfolds in the wild. And so, beneath the endless sky of Nevada, a new chapter began, one where the courage to reach out, the willingness to bridge worlds, and the power of compassion would rewrite the story of Emma and the Mustang who cried. Emma Carter's decision to approach the trapped Mustang was the beginning of an arduous journey that demanded every ounce of her patience, courage, and compassion. The harsh Nevada morning was filled with tension, an almost tangible electric charge hovering between woman and horse as Emma prepared herself for a rescue that would test her limits both physically and emotionally. The stallion, whom she would later come to know as Blaze, remained a striking figure even in his distress. His bay coat shimmered faintly in the early light, contrasting starkly with the dirt and blood smeared across his powerful limbs. But it was not just his physical strength that held Emma's attention. It was the profound intelligence in his dark eyes, the way he seemed to understand, perhaps better than any human, the gravity of their shared predicament. Emma had learned early in her career the dangers of approaching injured wild horses. Their power, unpredictable nature, and instinct to protect themselves made them formidable adversaries when cornered. She knew that a single well-aimed kick could end her life, yet she also knew that Blaze's survival depended on her intervention. To wait was to condemn him to suffering, if not death. Slowly, Emma removed the jacket from her shoulders and fashioned it into a makeshift blindfold, a tool designed to reduce the stallion's panic and anxiety. The gesture was as symbolic as it was practical, a gesture of trust offered to a creature unaccustomed to human kindness. Blaze shuddered at first, his muscles twitching beneath the heavy weight of fear, but gradually the tension in his frame softened. He allowed Emma to move closer a step at a time, as if negotiating a fragile truce with this intruder into his pain. Her hands trembled slightly as she inspected the trap, the jagged metal serrated edges, biting into Blaze's flesh with a cruel persistence. The device was a relic of illegal hunting, designed to immobilize but inflict maximum suffering. Emma's fingers traced the rusted contours, calculating how much pressure she could apply without provoking a dangerous reaction. Every movement was measured, deliberate, a silent conversation between human care and animal instinct. Emma's breathing slowed, matching the stallion's ragged panting. She spoke softly, her voice a gentle thread weaving through the tense air. "It's going to hurt, but I promise it will be over soon." Whether the words reached Blaze's consciousness or simply served to calm her own nerves, she could not tell. But in that moment, they were a lifeline thrown across the abyss of fear. The trap resisted its rusted metal, creaking and groaning, as Emma applied all her strength to separate its jaws. Sweat beaded on her forehead, mingling with dust as she leaned into the effort. Blaze's body twitched, muscles rippling beneath his skin, but he held still, the blindfold muffling the frantic noises of his torment. Then came a moment so fragile and sacred, it seemed almost unreal. Blaze extended his muzzle toward Emma's outstretched hand, touching her fingers with a gentleness that defied his fierce exterior. A shiver ran down Emma's spine, a silent acknowledgement of trust granted and received. For years, she had observed Mustangs from a distance, capturing their wild beauty through her lens, but never had she shared such an intimate connection. Emma's hands worked with increasing confidence, feeling the trap's resistance weaken under her touch. The minutes stretched on each second, a delicate balance of hope and fear. Finally, the trap's jaws gave way, opening millimeter by agonizing millimeter, until Blaze was free. The stallion pulled his leg away carefully, as if reluctant to believe his torment was over. With the immediate danger removed, Emma turned her attention to the wound itself. Blood had soaked the coarse hair around Blaze's leg, a vivid testament to the injury's severity. She retrieved clean water from her canteen and gently washed the wound, careful not to startle him. Blaze flinched, but did not pull away, his dark eyes locked on Emma's every movement. From her first aid kit, Emma produced an antibiotic spray, a precaution she had packed for unexpected scrapes on her long hikes. As she applied it to the injury, she explained softly, "This will help prevent infection. You need to keep this clean." Whether Blaze understood the meaning of her words mattered little. The tone was enough to maintain the fragile calm between them. For a long moment, they simply existed in that space together, human and wild horse linked by circumstance and a growing bond. Blaze tested his legs, slowly wincing, but showing signs of relief from the pressure that had imprisoned him. Yet instead of fleeing into the vast expanse, he remained nearby, standing quietly as if acknowledging a debt owed. Emma felt a surge of conflicting emotions, relief that she had succeeded, exhaustion from the physical and emotional toll, and a profound sense of humility in the presence of such resilience. This was no ordinary horse. Blaze embodied a spirit forged in the harsh desert landscape, tempered by pain, but unbroken. As the morning light grew stronger, Emma carefully removed the makeshift blindfold, bracing herself for any sudden reaction. But Blaze met her gaze calmly, his eyes reflecting a depth of understanding that went beyond instinct. Slowly, he turned and disappeared into the distant hills, leaving Emma alone with the echo of his neighs and the weight of what had just transpired. That day marked not only the rescue of a magnificent creature, but also the birth of a relationship that would challenge everything Emma believed about wildness, trust, and the boundaries between species. Her role had shifted from observer to participant, from chronicler to guardian. And in the quiet moments that followed as she packed her gear and retraced her steps, Emma knew that this was only the beginning. The desert had revealed its harshest truths and its rarest gifts, a chance encounter that would forever change the course of her life and the fate of a wild Mustang named Blaze. Through pain and fear, trust and courage, their stories had intertwined, creating a narrative of hope and connection that defied the silence of the wilderness. Emma's heart was heavy with the knowledge of what lay ahead, the challenges of recovery for Blaze, the uncertainties of survival in a world fraught with danger, and the complex dance of freedom and human intervention. Yet within her burned a quiet determination to see this journey through, to honor the trust that Blaze had bestowed upon her with every breath and movement. In the months to come, Emma would face countless trials, each one a testament to the fragile but unbreakable bond they shared. But on that dawn-lit morning in the Black Rock Mountains, amid the jagged rocks and whispering winds, a promise had been made, a promise of compassion, resilience, and the enduring power of connection. Emma Carter never anticipated that her rescue of the trapped Mustang would evolve into a relationship so profound, it would challenge everything she thought she knew about the wild. Over the weeks following Blaze's release from the cruel snare, an unexpected and remarkable bond began to form between the two. It was a connection that defied convention and blurred the lines between human and animal wildness and companionship. At first, Emma was cautious. She knew the nature of Mustangs, untamed horses shaped by centuries of survival, wary of humans and fiercely independent. They were creatures of the open plains, not companions to be tamed or possessed. Yet Blaze's behavior slowly defied all expectations. Instead of disappearing into the vastness of the Nevada wilderness, he began to return regularly to the vicinity of Emma's remote cabin, nestled at the edge of the Black Rock Mountains. These visits were tentative at first, distant glances from the shadows, moments when Blaze would stand silently watching her, as if contemplating a decision that no wild horse should ever make. Emma named him Blaze for the fiery gleam of his bay coat, a symbol of the fierce spirit that had survived so much pain. Their encounters became ritualistic, a slow dance of trust and mutual respect. She never approached too quickly, never tried to touch or feed him. Instead, she simply existed in his presence, offering a silent reassurance that she meant no harm. Blaze responded with subtle gestures, a lowered head, a soft neigh, a gentle flick of his tail. To the casual observer, these might have seemed insignificant, but to Emma they were profound expressions of a connection that transcended words. This burgeoning relationship soon attracted the attention of the local community and wildlife experts alike. Word spread about the wild Mustang who frequented a human home, a creature both free and tethered by an unseen bond. Emma's story caught the eye of Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a renowned equine behaviorist who had dedicated her life to studying wild horse cognition and social structures. When Dr. Mitchell visited Emma's cabin to observe Blaze, she was struck by the stallion's unusual behavior, his willingness to maintain proximity without fear, his gentle interactions, and most astonishingly, his instinct to protect. One evening, Emma's sanctuary was threatened. Two men attempted to break into her property, unaware of the silent guardian watching from the nearby ridge. Blaze, sensing danger, responded with a fierce display of power and territoriality. His loud, aggressive neighs shattered the stillness, and he charged toward the intruders with a thunderous gallop that shook the ground beneath their feet. The men, startled and outmatched by the unexpected defense, fled hastily, leaving Emma shaken but unharmed. The incident was captured on security cameras and quickly went viral, drawing national attention to the extraordinary stallion who had seemingly taken on the role of protector. Wildlife experts debated the implications, struggling to reconcile Blaze's wild nature with the remarkable behavior he exhibited. Dr. Mitchell remarked that she had never documented such a deep level of emotional reciprocity and protective instinct in a wild Mustang. Emma, meanwhile, found herself at the crossroads of public fascination and personal responsibility. She worked tirelessly with local authorities and conservation groups to establish a protected area around her property, safeguarding the habitat that Blaze and his band frequented. The Bureau of Land Management responded positively, fast-tracking protective measures to prevent illegal hunting and ensure the safety of the herd. Beyond the science and the legal battles, the story inspired a wider movement. Emma's experience sparked educational initiatives aimed at fostering empathy and awareness about wild horses and their plight. Volunteer groups formed to maintain safe corridors for Mustangs to roam freely, blending conservation with community stewardship. Emma spoke at schools and wildlife forums, sharing not only her rescue story, but also the deeper lessons of respect and coexistence that Blaze had taught her. Throughout it all, Blaze remained a wild spirit. He never allowed anyone but Emma to approach, maintaining the essential freedom that defined his existence. Their relationship was not one of ownership, but of mutual respect, a partnership forged in the fires of trauma and trust. Emma's understanding of wildness deepened. She realized that true connection did not mean possession, but honoring the autonomy and dignity of the other. In quiet moments, Emma would watch Blaze from her cabin porch, marveling at the grace and resilience that carried him through the harsh desert landscape. Their bond was a testament to the possibility of harmony between humans and the wild, a fragile but enduring bridge built on patience, respect, and an unspoken understanding. The friendship between Emma and Blaze became more than a personal story. It was a symbol of hope. It challenged the prevailing narratives about the divide between civilization and wilderness, inviting people to reconsider their relationship with nature. Through their connection, Emma and Blaze showed that even in a world often marked by conflict and exploitation, compassion could carve out spaces of peace and kinship. As the seasons turned, their bond grew stronger, woven into the fabric of the land itself. Blaze's presence near Emma's home became a gentle reminder of the wild heart beating just beyond human reach, a heart that, when met with kindness, could respond with loyalty, protection, and profound grace. Emma's journey with Blaze was far from over. The days ahead would bring new challenges and new revelations as they continued to navigate the delicate balance between freedom and friendship. But in that moment, standing side by side on the edge of the wilderness, Emma knew they had discovered something rare and precious, a connection that transcended species and spoke to the deepest truths of empathy and belonging. Their story was a call to action, an invitation for others to open their hearts and minds to the natural world in all its complexity and beauty. Through Blaze's eyes, Emma saw not just a wild Mustang, but a mirror reflecting the potential for harmony that lies within every encounter between human and animal. And in the silent communion of those shared moments, the boundaries between them dissolved, leaving only the simple, profound reality of two beings bound by trust, respect, and the unspoken promise of friendship. Emma Carter's life took an unexpected turn months after her initial rescue of Blaze, when an unforeseen crisis tested the depths of their extraordinary bond. One late autumn evening, as the desert temperatures plummeted and the sun dipped below the horizon, Emma found herself stranded miles from her remote cabin. Her Jeep had suffered a punctured tire on a treacherous dirt road winding through the Black Rock Mountains, and with night rapidly approaching and no cell signal to call for help, the situation was dire. Alone in the vast, unforgiving landscape, Emma prepared to endure a cold, lonely night. She gathered her emergency supplies, wrapped herself in blankets, and hoped for rescue. Yet amidst the enveloping darkness and growing fear, an unmistakable sound pierced the silence, a distinct neigh that echoed across the valley. It was Blaze. Emma's heart surged with a mix of relief and disbelief as the bay Mustang emerged from the shadows, his silhouette framed by the pale moonlight. Blaze's keen eyes reflected an urgency and intelligence that transcended simple animal instinct. Without hesitation, he approached the disabled vehicle, pawing at the earth, and then looking back toward the path he had traveled, as if signaling Emma to follow. With a little choice, and fueled by trust born from months of companionship, Emma took up her flashlight and emergency pack and stepped out into the cold desert night. Blaze led the way, navigating the rocky terrain with sure-footed grace, pausing often to check that Emma was still behind him. Their journey through the desert was slow and deliberate, each step a testament to the stallion's awareness and determination. For nearly 2 hours, Blaze guided Emma through the labyrinth of the wilderness, skillfully avoiding hazards and finding the safest route back to familiar ground. Throughout the trek, Emma felt the profound weight of their connection, an unspoken promise of protection and mutual reliance. She marveled at the stallion's seemingly instinctive ability to lead her home, a feat that defied conventional understanding of wild horse behavior. When at last they reached the dirt road that led to her cabin, Emma's relief was overwhelming. Blaze paused, his dark eyes locking with hers in a moment that conveyed more than gratitude. It was a recognition of shared survival and trust. Then, with a gentle nicker, he turned and vanished into the night, leaving Emma with a renewed sense of awe and wonder. News of this miraculous rescue spread quickly, drawing the attention of scientists and wildlife experts across the nation. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the equine behaviorist who had previously studied Blaze, revisited the case with fresh eyes. The stallion's actions challenged long-held assumptions about the cognitive and emotional capacities of wild horses. How could Blaze have found Emma in the vast desert? What intelligence and sensory awareness enabled him to navigate unfamiliar terrain to guide her safely? The scientific community began to explore new frameworks to understand animal consciousness, considering the possibility of abstract thinking, emotional reciprocity, and problem-solving skills previously attributed only to primates and select social species. Blaze became a symbol of this emerging paradigm, a living example that blurred the boundaries between human and animal intelligence. For Emma, the experience deepened her commitment to conservation and education. She documented their journey in a compelling photo book that captured not only Blaze's physical beauty, but also the intangible moments of communication and connection that defined their relationship. The book resonated, widely inspiring readers to reconsider humanity's relationship with the natural world and the creatures who share it. Motivated by their story, Emma established the Blaze Mustang Sanctuary, a nonprofit organization dedicated to preserving Mustang habitats and promoting coexistence between humans and wild horses. The sanctuary provided protected corridors for Mustang bands to roam freely, while serving as an educational center for visitors and volunteers eager to learn about conservation efforts grounded in empathy and respect. Emma's vision extended beyond preservation. It was about cultivating a culture of compassion. She collaborated with environmental groups, government agencies, and local communities to foster awareness of the fragile balance between wilderness and human activity. Their work advocated for policies that honored the autonomy and dignity of wild horses, while addressing the realities of habitat loss and human encroachment. Throughout this journey, Blaze remained a free spirit. Though their bond was strong, he never surrendered his wildness. His regular visits to Emma's property were reminders of the delicate equilibrium they maintained, a relationship built on mutual respect, where freedom and friendship coexisted harmoniously. On the anniversary of their first encounter, Emma returned to the spot where she had first found Blaze trapped. The valley was alive with an unprecedented gathering of wild Mustangs, multiple bands coming together in what researchers later called a historic assembly. Blaze stood at the center, accompanied by his growing family, including several young foals born since his rescue. As Emma watched, Blaze approached her once more and offered the now familiar gesture, a deliberate lowering of his head in acknowledgement. Behind him, the other Mustangs followed suit, creating a ripple of bows that seemed to echo across the valley floor. It was a profound moment, a silent testament to the possibilities of interspecies connection rooted in respect and trust. For Emma, this gathering was more than a celebration of life. It was a symbol of hope and transformation. Their story illustrated that compassion and courage could change not only individual lives, but entire ecosystems. It challenged humanity to rethink its role in the natural world, from conqueror and exploiter to guardian and partner. Emma often reflected on the journey she and Blaze had undertaken, from the desperate cry in a cruel trap to the sanctuary they had helped create together. It was a story of survival, yes, but also one of redemption, empathy, and the enduring power of connection. Through Blaze's eyes, Emma saw the wild not as something to be tamed or controlled, but as a living, breathing entity deserving of reverence and care. Their bond was a reminder that the divisions we impose between species are often artificial, and that the language of trust, respect, and love transcends all barriers. In the end, Emma understood that the greatest rescue was not just freeing Blaze from physical captivity, but awakening a deeper awareness within herself and others, a call to embrace the wildness within and around us with open hearts and unwavering compassion. And so, beneath the endless Nevada sky, their story continued, an ongoing testament to the remarkable possibilities that arise when courage meets kindness, and when two souls, one human and one Mustang, choose to walk the path of friendship together. Emma Carter's journey with Blaze, the wild Mustang she rescued from a cruel trap, is a story that transcends the boundaries of species and speaks directly to the core of human empathy, courage, and the power of connection. What began as a solitary act of compassion in the remote Nevada wilderness blossomed into a profound relationship that challenged not only Emma's understanding of the natural world, but also the scientific paradigms surrounding animal cognition and emotional reciprocity. Their story is a living testament to the transformative potential of kindness and the unexpected friendships that can emerge when one dares to act with a brave heart. From the moment Emma first heard Blaze's desperate cries echoing through the Black Rock Mountains, she was faced with a choice: remain a distant observer, bound by caution and protocol, or step forward and intervene at great personal risk. Her decision to approach the wounded stallion marked the beginning of an extraordinary journey that would test her physical strength, emotional resilience, and deepest convictions. Despite the danger posed by an injured wild horse, Emma's compassion overcame fear, and her presence offered Blaze a lifeline. The delicate act of freeing him from the rusted trap was not just a rescue of a wild animal, but an invitation to build a bridge between two worlds long considered separate and incompatible. The months that followed unveiled a bond that defied expectations. Blaze's repeated visits to Emma's remote cabin, his protective stance against intruders, and his incredible act of guiding her through the treacherous desert when she was stranded illustrated a level of emotional depth and intelligence rarely acknowledged in wild horses. Their relationship challenged prevailing assumptions and invited experts to reconsider the boundaries of animal consciousness. More importantly, it opened a new chapter in Emma's life, one defined by mutual respect, trust, and the pursuit of coexistence. Emma's commitment to Blaze's well-being extended beyond their personal connection. She became an advocate for Mustang conservation, working with local authorities to secure protections for the herd's habitat and launching educational initiatives to raise awareness about the plight of wild horses. The creation of the Blaze Mustang Sanctuary was a tangible manifestation of her belief that humans could play a positive role in preserving the wild, not by domination, but by partnership. This sanctuary stands as a beacon of hope, fostering empathy, stewardship, and a deeper understanding of the natural world. Their story culminated in a historic gathering of Mustangs, a poignant reminder that life persists and thrives even in the face of adversity. The silent bows exchanged between Blaze's family and the other horses were more than gestures. They were symbols of respect, acknowledgement, and the enduring power of connection. Emma's reflections on these moments remind us that the natural world holds lessons of resilience and harmony, waiting for those who are willing to listen. From Emma and Blaze's story, we draw profound lessons relevant to our lives today. First, the power of empathy cannot be overstated. Emma's willingness to look beyond fear and protocol to see Blaze's pain and respond with compassion exemplifies the impact a single act of kindness can have. In a world often marked by division and indifference, cultivating empathy allows us to connect more deeply with others, whether human or animal, and to foster communities grounded in care and respect. Second, courage in the face of uncertainty is essential. Emma's journey reminds us that meaningful change often requires stepping into the unknown, risking failure or harm for the sake of a greater good. Whether rescuing a trapped horse or confronting challenges in our personal or professional lives, courage fuels progress and transformation. Third, the story underscores the importance of mutual respect and coexistence. Blaze's continued wildness alongside his bond with Emma demonstrates that relationships founded on respect rather than control yield the richest and most sustainable connections. This principle extends beyond human-animal relationships to how we engage with each other and the environment, promoting balance, freedom, and dignity for all. Finally, the narrative illustrates how individual actions ripple outward to inspire collective change. Emma's advocacy, education, and sanctuary work highlight that one person's compassion can mobilize communities, influence policy, and create lasting impact. We are reminded that we each hold the power to be stewards of kindness and guardians of the world we share. For viewers and readers today, these lessons offer practical guidance. Embrace empathy by seeking to understand the experiences of those around you, be they friends, family, neighbors, or even strangers. Practice courage by confronting challenges with resolve and openness, knowing that uncertainty is part of growth. Foster respect in all your relationships, valuing autonomy and voice, and recognizing the interconnectedness of life. And remember that your actions, no matter how small, contribute to a greater collective good. As Emma and Blaze's story shows, the path to meaningful connection and positive change begins with a single step, one of compassion, courage, and respect. Their journey invites us all to be part of a larger story, one that honors the wildness within us and the world around us, and that embraces the possibilities that arise when hearts open and hands reach out. If this story has touched your heart and inspired you, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support fuels our mission to share more stories of courage, connection, and compassion. Together, we can continue to explore the beauty and complexity of the natural world and the profound relationships that remind us what it means to be truly alive. Join us on this journey, subscribe now, and be part of a community dedicated to making a difference one story at a time.